And one. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are logging in from around the world. I would just like to say Happy International Women's Day. Thank you for helping us celebrate sisterhood. And I have my dear, dear, dear sis, Harriet, who is calling in from Kenya, and she's going to be sharing with us her perspective on something called the emotional bank account. Now, Harriet is not just a humanitarian, but she is also a certified therapist, and she spends a lot of her time helping out a lot of disadvantaged teenagers, young adults, young leaders, and everything. And she's one of the most empowering people in the world. She's globally recognized before graduation, specifically for her humanitarian work. And she is just one of these people that every time you talk to her, you just feel a lot of peace. So she, without further ado, I would just like to definitely honor one of my sweet sisters from the other side of the world, Harriet.
Oh, thank you so much, Jess. That was a lot about me. I'm so humble and happy International Women's Day to those who are listening to us, those ladies who are doing amazing work, job to other people through humanities. Our meant for men, but they are doing. So thank you for this session. I love you so much, and continue doing this, and healing is global, and through this a lot of people get healed, and it also makes us known to the world. People take over and continue. Thank you, James, Jess.
We're good.
Yeah, we good. You could. Okay, for the session of emotional bank account, this is a perspective brought in by we have the daily interactions we have, and the perspective of the bank, the way we withdraw and even deposit cash in the bank. So it's also the same synonym or the same situation or the same picture we could picture with the daily interactions we have, and through this, we are able to make deposits and withdrawals. And the more you make more deposits in your interactions, the more trustworthy, the more connections we make with other people. So through this perspective, we are able to really make good connections with even ourselves and even people around the environment we have. So there are various ways that we could make deposits in our relationship, and through these, we are able to really build trust in other individuals, and even within ourselves, we are not left with bankrupt. So when we display such characteristics, such as apologizing for what we have done wrong, or even making commitment, or even giving an excuse for a commitment we had made, and also forgiving other people, showing compassion, being truthful to situations, being honest. These are some of the deposits we could make in our emotional bank account. And in reverse, certain types of withdrawals we could make are not really owning up to the commitments we have made with other people, and also not doing what we had intentionally told people that we will do. So when we withdraw, we tend to remove more from what we had really kept. So we remain bankrupt in terms of emotions. And when someone has no emotions for others, we remain bankrupt, and we cannot pour from an empty cup. And that's why you find that there are other emotional big issues that could really rise up from not really keeping commitments, or even doing concerns as we had. And I will now ask Jess to continue with the other questions that she needs me to cover them. Thank you, Jess.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So the first time that Harriet and I were able to collaborate together, we were doing a project for the United Nations, specifically for the Global Goodwill Ambassadors. And when she introduced the concept of the emotional bank account, I thought that it was phenomenal because she was able to separate and give examples of the emotional bank account in a professional setting and then also in a personal setting. Because a lot of times we underestimate our emotional state within a professional setting. So the
Sure.
question is going to be, Harriet, can you please give an example of how to fill our emotional bank account in a professional setting?
Uh, for example, in a professional setting, in a work setting, we have commitments to do work. We have different levels of obligations or even responsibilities that we have been given as individuals, and we have been given a timeline to do such. And when we are not able or in a capacity to achieve within the specific timeline, and an individual is able to make commitments and even communicate in an earlier phase rather than leaving it and not communicating and having issues with others. So when they're able to really communicate and really give what is needed or the communication at first hand, we say that they have made a deposit in their emotional bank account. And as an individual, they may not able to suffer explanation since they really gave out the reason why they were not able to achieve that. And you find that someone is not even stressed, they are not overwhelmed because they have really, really communicated what is going on and even asked for a permission to extend their time further. And also in a professional setup, when we do have other people and forgiving, an act of forgiveness will really go way much better and will not leave an individual so hurt. So you find yourself that the more you're forgiving, the more your heart is at peace, and the more deposits you're making into your bank account. The more richer you are in terms of connection, the more richer you are in terms of interaction with other people, and also in reconciliation when issues come up. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the art of receiving just as much as the art of giving, but the art of receiving,
Yes.
because you have to allow
Yes.
people to make those
Yeah.
deposits into your emotional bank account.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I love
Yes.
that. I love
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Cool. Well, then,
Yeah.
and then we're also going to go into, let's talk about like the impact of COVID. So the impact of the pandemic on mental health. So now that we kind of started very specific with kind of, like the emotional bank account and relate it to work, let's open it up to like your individual mental health. And then we're going to talk about childhood experiences in mental health. And then we're going to talk about what's happening in Kenya. So yeah, so let's talk about the
Yeah.
impact of the pandemic on our mental health.
So I will talk specifically in my country. The COVID-19 has brought some positivity and also some negativity. And in terms of positivity, you can see people really adjusted to systems. This is how when Zoom even came in session and we were even able to meet, and look at us now. That is a positive thing because I was able to meet someone, and an angel, an heaven sent human being such as you, with a warm heart. At least meetings, those physical meetings were reduced, and people were able even to connect virtually. I had even sessions that I had to attend prayer sessions virtually and pray for other people virtually. And some new environment came up. People even realized that they are able to do other things. They are able to achieve more things with other perspective, and technology was really used, and people really got to know themselves better, and even interactions were more. And coming to the negative part, COVID-19 really made people to stay at home and interact, those forceful interactions. You see, some people are just home, work, home, and really had few interactions. And some of us were forced to work from home. This means that you will really, really interact with your family members, and you have to face really the issues. And the third part is that a lot of GBV cases really rose. Domestic violence went on hike and cases were more. And also teenage pregnancies. This is the time now the students were at home. They were not really studying and even didn't have much focus. So you'll find them engaging in ways that will really even increase the teenage pregnancies, and in irresponsible behaviors, and even engaging in alcohol abuse. And the impact of COVID has been really felt in terms of even economic well-being of the country, that it has been shaken. But we thank God, so far we are at least picking up, and the far we've gone, at least personally, on a personal level, I discovered things that I had not known about myself. During this period, I was even able to volunteer and even give psychological counseling sessions that were really needed. And out of it, I was able even to gain more experience and exposure, and even mentor young people, both virtually and even globally. Through that, I've been able to even meet individuals virtually and interact with them to the next level. And I really, really thank God I can say that.
You know what they
Yeah.
say, if you can't go out, go in, right? So when we can't go
Yes.
outside for the pandemic, then it's a good moment for us to be able to reflect in and evaluate kind of what part of our
Sure.
lives are good for us and
Mm-hmm.
what parts we need to let go. And I think you're phenomenal and on all the work that you've been able to do and your ability to articulate, the
Yeah.
healthy and maybe the less healthy aspects. And it's
Yeah.
really interesting for me for like to understand that like the teen pregnancy numbers went up. I guess it's
Yeah.
expected, but I didn't even think about that. I'm just like, but if everyone's at home, how are they able to have sex? Because their parents are probably there. And so for me, I didn't even think about that. But where there's a will, there's
Yeah.
a way. People will always find a way to make something happen. So
Exactly.
I think that's going to be a really good segue into looking at adaptive coping mechanisms. So
Sure.
so we've already discussed, like how to fill that emotional bank account within a work setting, the art of receiving.
Mm-hmm.
So let
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
help you. And then we
Yeah.
shifted into the impact of COVID and mental health. And now,
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
and all the different things highlighting the pros and the cons and, different things that are happening. Now that we're looking at adaptive coping mechanisms, if we already have the emotional bank account in a normal setting, allowing people to help us, and then with the pandemic changing everything, what are some adaptive coping mechanisms that we can use in present day world that can help us with
Mm-hmm.
either mental stability, emotional stability, the emotional bank account? What exactly is an adaptive coping mechanism and how do we apply it?
Okay, thank you for highlighting that and really recognizing that there we have coping mechanisms, and under coping mechanism we can have adaptive and maladaptive coping mechanisms. And for adaptive, these are ways that will enable us continue flourish and not make us really affect the occupational, the social, the individual, even the physical well-being. And we see mental health as an essential part of human being that cannot be distinguished. And if we don't work on our mental health, also our physical health is really, really, really impacted in various many ways. And it comes out as physical, and our occupational and social ways are really affected. And you see, every day just we are faced with stress, even just to prepare for this such an event, it was stress at some point. And
None of the links
and
are
we
working today, and that's okay because the show must go on.
yeah. And you see, there's various types of stress. There are positive and negative and negative stresses, and they still elicit the same state. Our body goes through the anxiety, the sweating, the heart pumping, and everything. And we really have to have strong coping mechanism so that we cannot develop mental health issues or disorders. And adaptive coping mechanisms, I always tell my clients during my normal interactions that we don't have a button where we can say, just today I'm going to press this button and then I'm gonna release my stressors. No, as human beings, we have to develop mechanisms of really letting our stressors go. And one of the effective ways or even adaptive way of really coping with our stressors is communication. And communication is so powerful. And I always tell individuals that we have counseling, professional counseling, trauma counselors that will really, really help us walk the journey of healing and recovery. So communication for me really works. And I always insist of really getting the right individuals of discussing with them the issues that is going on. And out of that, they get to share even more stressful situations that we are in. And you're able to say like, oh, I'm not even in our situation. My situation is even better. Yeah. And yes, they have not solved your issues, but you are able to compare the two issues and you're like, yes, I got this. And you're able to get now the momentum of continuing with everything at hand. And also another adaptive coping mechanism is could be music therapy. We could do relaxation exercises, and also having good affirmations, good mantras. And also we have the 4 A's of dealing with stress. Either we adapt, either we accept situations that is not within our control, either we alter. And also you see, we in cognitive behavioral therapy, we always say that our thoughts are really connected with our feelings, and feelings are also connected with our behavior. So when I have a negative thought about even myself, I will view myself in a negative way, and also my behavior will they be directly influenced. So my behavior will be so negative. And I always say that we cannot be shown love or even receive love if for us ourselves we don't love within ourselves. So it has to come from within ourselves. I have to love myself so that I can feel just loves me. I have to really show myself compassion.
Yeah.
So that when compassion is shown to me, I'm able to recognize that this is compassion. I'm able to forgive others, so that if someone forgives me, I'm able to understand what is it that they have really gone through to really be able to forgive myself. So we should really be patient with ourselves and really show compassion, forgive ourselves, and even recognize that we are human beings and we are emotional human beings. Sometimes our mind are just wired to generate negative thoughts, and we really should be responsible of how we feel, how we think, so that our behavior may be well.
I love that
Yes.
because one of the things, I mean, I appreciate so many things about you. And one of the things that is cropping up as you're speaking about that is on how almost every single time we have an interaction, because we share a lot on WhatsApp, and almost every single time you ask me, how is your heart? And I'm like, I don't know, it's beating. And the fact that you remind me and you're just like, how is your heart, sis? How are you doing? Because a lot of people, they'll say, how are you doing? And you don't relate it to emotion. And so when you ask me, how is your heart? It makes me smile, because at first I get frustrated. I'm like, why is she asking me about my heart? It's beating. I don't know. and then I stop and I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of hurting today. And so it opens up. And so I think that, going along with what you're talking about, you can only meet people as far as you're willing to meet yourself. Everything comes with self-compassion. And once we get into that habit of asking ourselves, okay, heart, how are we doing today? Then it opens up that relationship with ourselves, and then it helps us kind of like weave in and out. And so I guess like the question, I mean, that was a compliment to you, but then the question related to it is, you mentioned the 4 A's. I wrote it down: adapt, accept, alter. What was the number 4?
Adapt, accept, and I'll give you the 4th one. It seems I have forgotten it.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss it. I didn't miss it. So it's okay. We can loop back to that. It's no problem. But there's 4 A's, which I'm gonna make it up. Accelerate. If it's a good one, make it go really big. Another thing that we want to talk about is on how in context. So now that we've talked about the emotional bank account and how it applies to work, we've also talked about the impact of COVID on mental health. We've talked about adaptive coping mechanisms. The difference between adaptive is something that's useful, and then maladaptive is something that might be harmful. And then
yeah, for example, for maladaptive, you get, sorry for interrupting you, you find that an individual instead of really facing or even dealing with their stressors, they opt for other ways which are maladaptive. For example, substance use, and just going and suppressing that feeling or even that issue by engaging even in substance use. At the end of the day, the issue is there. We've not really faced or even dealt with it. So at the end of the day, we get to such issues, and addiction leads to another thing. So it makes us it makes it maladaptive, or even engaging in self-harm.
Yeah, I think a lot of those are self-harm practices, so 100%.
Yeah.
And so I think
Yeah.
I think like the last question that we have, because we do have just about five minutes left. So for the last question, I would like for you to speak a little bit on childhood experiences and mental health in adulthood. So we all understand that the reason why we act the way that we act as adults is because of stuff that has happened in childhood. So I guess very specifically, the question would be, as we continue our journey, as we continue to grow, what are some ways that we can check ourselves, that we can parent ourselves, that we can have compassion for ourselves? If we didn't come from a very healthy childhood environment, how can we make sure to kind of take care of that in order to have a healthy adulthood?
And thank you for that question. In order to take care of those adversities that we have faced in childhood, people who have faced trauma really have to recognize that they really went through this, accepting and also recognizing the situations that really happened, and seeking for help through therapy, and really allowing yourself to go through the healing process accordingly. I think it is the biggest thing that we will do to show ourselves compassion and also be there for ourselves. And I always say that our psychological well-being or even our mental well-being is our personal responsibility. I may not come just and pick you up and tell you, just you need just to go for therapy. No, it really calls for an individual to call for yourself for a meeting. I always use that part of, you call just one, you call just two, you call just three for a meeting, and you agree that we're going to do this. We have gone through this, and we are accepting to take the process that is needed accordingly, and be really there for yourself to get healed. Yes.
I think that's important, because I feel like I have a lot of friends that are in therapy, and I have a lot of friends that have coaches. And I personally think that it's a good balance to have both, because in my oversimplified life, I think therapy is to help you understand yourself and understand your emotions, whereas a coach doesn't really want you to understand yourself as much, but just know how to use those emotions. Like for me, I go surface level. I'm just like, all right, cool. Do we know what emotion this is? Cool, let's use it. So, because I think all emotions are energy. It doesn't matter what emotion it is. For me, it's just like, cool, you got it. Your cup is filled with something. Let's use it. And so for me, like, that might not be a healthy way for a lot of people, which is why I insist a lot of my clients, they also work with therapists, because my limitations, I don't want to jump into all that stuff. That's not my expertise. My expertise is, okay, we got this. Let's use it. Let's have some fun. Let's create something. Like, therapist, I think it's very interesting and very powerful, because it allows people to hold that space and to not just do it to be. So therapy can help you with your I guess like self-esteem. It could help with your self-mastery. It can help with your knowledge. It can help with so many different aspects.
Self-concept. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, which I think is so powerful. So, I'm so happy. And so, thank you so much, Harriet, for being able to spend this time with us. And if people want to work with you one-on-one, how can they get in touch with you?
through my email, Harriet Musimbi 97@gmail.com. And also I have my LinkedIn, I will share with you, and also my Facebook, and I'm Harriet Mus, and also just LinkedIn. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. I will
Harriet
go ahead and make
Musimbi.
sure to have all those links kind of connected. So the best way is to email direct for any kind of one-on-one sessions or, you know,
Sure.
a bunch of sessions. If people want you to be a
Yeah.
public speaker for any of their workshops coming up, they can also reach out to you. And I know that you
Yeah.
also have a lot of community stuff. So let's just, you know, get loud and proud, and let's just promote all the good things that you're doing, because I know that there's just so many people that need it. They need all the gifts that you have.
Sure.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to brag about you, and thank you so much for being part of our special day, and thank you so much for just sharing your knowledge, because I think that, you know, at the end of the day, we're all the same. I mean, we all
Yeah,
have
sure.
big hearts, and we're all trying to do the best that we can. So thank you so much for being part of my celebrating sisterhood, and sharing your insights specifically on the emotional account. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that opportunity, Jess. I celebrate you. Happy International Women's Day to you.
Thank you. And an open invite whenever you're in Chicago. Come visit. Come visit.
Okay. We'll plan about
Big
that.
heart, big heart, big love
Thank
from
you.
Chicago, from
Okay.
my home and my bubble to yours. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day to you too. Bye.